A reggae legend just died worth up to $18 million. But here's the insane part. He made more money than Bob Marley by doing one thing differently. And it's not what you think. On November 24, 2025, the world experienced a profound silence when Jimmy Cliff, the voice that carried reggae across oceans, died at the age of 81. Within minutes of the announcement, something remarkable happened. His songs exploded across every streaming platform, and sound systems in Kingston lit up street corners with his timeless music. The Prime Minister of Jamaica called him a true cultural giant. But what nobody's talking about is the sophisticated financial empire this man quietly built over 6 decades. This is the story of James Chambers, born on July 30, 1944, the 8th of 9 children in rural St. James Parish, Jamaica. His family scraped by on determination more than resources. But young James found solace in church music, where his voice rose with a clarity that startled adults. That creative spark couldn't be contained by country life, and at just 14 years old, he made a decision that would change music history forever. He left everything behind and walked to Kingston, the bustling capital, with nothing but ambition and a dream. In Kingston, he reinvented himself completely. James Chambers became Jimmy Cliff, a name that hinted at both the cliffs of his homeland and the dizzying heights he intended to reach. But the music industry had other plans for this poor kid from the countryside. He faced rejection after rejection, knocking on studio doors that wouldn't open, entering talent contests that led nowhere, and trying desperately to convince anyone to give him a chance. Then came the moment that defined his persistence. He literally forced his way into Leslie Kong's establishment, which wasn't even a recording studio, it was a restaurant and record shop. Kong wasn't a music producer, he was a restaurant owner. But Cliff saw something nobody else did. He convinced Kang to take a chance, to venture into music production for the first time. The problem was that Cliff was only 17 years old, completely broke, and betting everything on a single song. In 1962, that bet paid off in ways nobody could have imagined. Hurricane Hattie dropped and rocketed to #1 in Jamaica. Suddenly, the kid who couldn't get through a studio door was Jamaica's hottest new star. By 1964, he was representing his country at the World's Fair in New York, and shortly after, he signed with Island Records and moved to London. This strategic relocation positioned him as the international face. And here's the crazy part. He was carving the path at Island Records before they even signed Bob Marley. Jimmy Cliff opened the door, and Bob Marley walked through it. But as Cliff's star rose internationally, he faced a problem that would destroy most artists of his generation. In the 1960s and 70s, record labels owned everything: your music, your masters, your entire future. Musical legends from this era died broke, and icons ended up with nothing because they never owned their own songs. Even today, most of those classic hits generate money that flows to corporations, not to the families of the artists who created them. Meanwhile, Cliff was writing anthems that transcended entertainment. Bob Dylan once called his song Vietnam the greatest protest song he'd ever heard. He created wonderful world, beautiful people, and you can get it if you really want. Songs that became universal rallying cries. Then in 1972, something seismic happened. The Harder They Come exploded onto screens worldwide, with Cliff starring as the outlaw Yvonne. The film and its soundtrack ripped reggae into mainstream global consciousness across Europe and America for the first time. Many Rivers to Cross became a generational anthem for the bruised and hopeful. But here's the nightmare. Most artists from this era made nothing from these massive successes because the labels took it all. This is where Jimmy Cliff's genius reveals itself. While other artists were signing away their futures for quick cash, Cliff was playing a completely different game. He fought to own his masters, not all of them, but the key recordings, the valuable ones that would matter decades later. By securing ownership of his catalog, he created multiple income streams that would flow for generations. Streaming royalties, film soundtrack, licensing, commercial placements, publishing rights, and touring revenue. In his later years, he was reportedly earning over $1 million annually just from licensing income alone. That's passive income money, flowing in while he slept, while he performed, year after year after year. The strategy kept working. In the 90s, he covered I Can See, Clearly Now for Disney's Cool Runnings, and it hit #1 in France. In 2012, his album Rebirth, produced by punk rocker Tim Armstrong, won a Grammy. But the real victory wasn't the awards or the chart positions, it was the legacy wealth he was building. The kind that protects families for generations. His accolades continued to pile up. Jamaica awarded him the Order of Merit in 2003, the nation's 3rd highest honor. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010. He won multiple Grammy Awards across decades. But he stayed rebellious throughout it all. When the British Conservative Party tried to use his song at their conference, He publicly shut them down, declaring he was not a supporter of politics. His spiritual journey was equally complex. Race Christian, he explored Rastafarianism, then converted to Islam and took the name Alhaj Naim Bachia, before ultimately declaring himself a man of science and universal truth. And through it all, the money kept flowing, streaming kept growing, and his catalog kept appreciating in value. So here's the shocking truth about Jimmy Cliff's net worth at the time of his death. Some sources claim $5 million, others estimate $10 to $15 million, and some reports go as high as $18 million. Industry experts generally agree on a range between $10 and $15 million. But here's the part that changes everything about this story. When legendary artists die, their catalog values explode. We've seen it with Prince, Michael Jackson, and Johnny Cash. Cliff's estate, now managed by his wife Latifah Chambers and his children including Nabia B. The actress from Black Panther is positioned to see his catalog value double or even triple in the coming years. And because he owned his masters, that simple decision, that one strategic choice made decades ago, means his family inherits true legacy wealth. While Bob Marley's estate has been tangled in legal battles for decades, Cliff's family inherits a clean, profitable, enduring economic ecosystem. His philosophy was elegantly simple: own the song, own the future. And now, younger reggae artists are following his blueprint, understanding that the real power isn't just in creating timeless music hits, in owning it. Think about this journey: the eighth of 9 children, the kid who walked to Kingston with nothing, the man who convinced a restaurant owner to produce records. He crossed many rivers and built an empire, while securing his family's future. If you want to see more breakdowns of how artists actually make money, the real financial strategies behind the legends, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment and let me know. Should every artist own their masters, or are record deals still worth it? Until next time, own your future.